presente y yo quiero vivirlo con todo.
Si queremos tener menor porcentaje de violencia en las escuelas, deberíamos de actuar antes de que suceda una tragedia. El taller de educación para la paz es una buena alternativa.
Cada vez que, por ejemplo, prendo la radio o la TV, lo único que veo son conflictos, allá no hay paz, y me gustaría que la comunidad entienda de lo muy hermoso que es la paz.
El impacto positivo que tuvo en mí fue que hizo que cambiara mi forma de pensar sobre la vida, ya que la paz es un anhelo que viene desde el corazón de todos, y está en todos, y ese deseo nunca va a morir hasta que lo logremos.
Lo que he aprendido yo del programa para educación para la paz ha sido muy interesante, ya que ahí nos dan, por decir, unas pautas para poder llegar a la paz, conseguir algo que todo el mundo quiere.
Reciban ustedes el saludo de la institución tutelar del Estado, la gloriosa Policía Nacional del Perú, también presentes para decirles que nosotros queremos la paz.
Welcome to the Peace Education Program. Today's theme is Understanding.
Ese programa para la paz es muy importante para el mundo porque vemos que a diario está habiendo violencia, vemos que están destruyendo nuestra naturaleza, pero con esos videos, con esas charlas, vamos a mejorar.
If you can bring someone from darkness to light, then do so. But if you cannot bring them from darkness to light, at least don't turn off whatever light is lit in their little room. Why is this important? It is important because this is your nature. This is your true nature. Because you are the source of a tremendous amount of good. You are the source of a tremendous amount of hope. You are the source of a tremendous amount of clarity. And yes, indeed, you are the source of a tremendous amount of peace.
Como hemos visto en todos los videos, hay que fortalecer nuestra autoestima, nuestra aceptación, nuestra comprensión, para así poder ir a nuestros colegios con esas ganas de ayudar, con esas ganas de protegerlos.
La Policía Nacional hemos aprendido que la mejor manera de enseñar es bajo una cultura de paz. Ya este enfoque de la represión o de la fuerza, este enfoque ha cambiado.
Más imagínense que yo me encuentre personalmente mal, sin tener estos valores o estas capacitaciones, a enfrentarme a un caso de violencia en el colegio. ¿Qué podría decirle yo? No tendría de repente la moral para decirle algo, pero sin embargo, fortaleciendo acá mis valores, mis virtudes, puedo ir a un niño a abrazarlo, a decirle todo va a estar bien, a brindarle una clase de salida que de repente no lo tiene en su casa y en el colegio nos ven como ejemplo, ¿no? Entonces, ayudarlos a ellos. Y como dicen, educando a los niños de ahora para no castigar a los hombres del futuro. Tienen a todos sus promotores de sus colegios y para ello les quiero pedir para nosotros unos fuertes aplausos y para ustedes.
El programa de educación de la paz es la base que está fundamentando todo esto. Todas las instituciones educativas deberían promover esto, deberían promover porque así los alumnos y los chicos vivirían en un mejor ambiente, en un mejor sistema de educación, serían mejores personas. Y bueno, así como a mí me ha cambiado un poco, bueno, no un poco, me ha cambiado totalmente, rotundamente.
Mis experiencias en este programa fueron bien hermosas, divertidas, maravillosas, ¿no? No tendría palabras como describirlo.
La paz trata de sincronizarse con tu vida, con el sentido de tu vida. ¿Para qué has venido a este mundo?
No solamente es estar en paz con todos, sino también sentir esa paz en nosotros.
Este programa, a mi punto de vista, es fundamental porque la población se está olvidando de lo más esencial, que es la persona.
Creo que es responsabilidad de todas las personas, de todas las organizaciones, de todas las autoridades, de todos los gobernantes, hacer a dónde, digamos, se encamina la humanidad. Entonces, con esta semilla que estamos sembrando, esperamos de que sí es posible construir un mundo mejor.
El Sistema para el Desarrollo Integral de la Familia es una institución que vela por las mujeres, por la familia en general, pero principalmente por los más vulnerables. En este caso, adultos mayores, personas con discapacidad, niñas, niños y adolescentes, y mujeres que están en alguna situación de vulnerabilidad. El programa de Educación para la Paz es adecuado, no solo adecuado, sino muy importante para el DIF y para nuestro Estado. ¿Por qué? Porque nosotros trabajamos con personas que sufren de muchas carencias, que tienen muchas vulnerabilidades y a veces eso nos mantiene o los mantiene molestos, enojados. Con el programa para la paz encuentran la paz dentro de ellos mismos. Hemos tenido muchos testimonios de personas que están trabajando con nosotros y que su vida ha cambiado con el PEP, que se han dado cuenta de que encontrando la paz adentro de ellos mismos es más fácil la vida.
En Colombia lo que queremos es paz.
Jóvenes nos estamos preocupando más es por vivir una vida, digámoslo, al 1000.
Hoy los jóvenes en día están expuestos a muchos problemas, como las drogas, las pandillas.
Yo a veces tenía conflictos con otros compañeros, ya que no compartíamos los mismos ideales.
No tenía esa sabiduría ni esa paz interior que yo necesitaba para afrontar todos estos problemas que se me venían.
No teníamos muy claro ese concepto de paz.
He aprendido de que la paz tiene que venir de nuestro interior.
Yo quiero un futuro, y quiero un futuro entre ese, si algún día tengo mis hijos, quiero darle un futuro sano, que tengan paz con todas las personas del mundo y que no sean como yo, que repitan ese pasado.
Una educación para la paz es transversal a todos los procesos que se desarrollen al interior de una sociedad. Aún más en un país como Colombia, que está pasando por un proceso de adaptación a unos acuerdos de paz firmados luego de más de 50 años de un conflicto armado, que muy seguramente, aunque gran parte de esta nueva generación no sufrió como otras generaciones todos los horrores de la guerra, muy seguramente sus papás y sus familiares en gran parte del país han sido marcados por todo esto.
El tema de la violencia social, pues indudablemente permea a los jóvenes, también llega a nuestras escuelas, no somos ajenos a eso. Y esto es un proceso que viene de violencia no solamente de ahora, sino violencia que se ha perpetuado a través del tiempo y los hace a su vez unos ser violentos, como son sus padres, como son sus vecinos, y a la vez también verse afectados por esa violencia, entonces ser maltratados, ser poco asertivos, su resiliencia es difícil de encontrar, hay niños que no superan sus problemas y toman decisiones como el suicidio, eso fue algo que afectó mucho al Departamento del Atlántico.
Inicialmente el programa de Educación para la Paz lo comencé a utilizar cuando era profesora de Ética y Valores Humanos, porque vi que con este programa podía conseguir mejores cosas con los estudiantes y su desarrollo interior.
War begins in the minds of human beings. Conflict does not begin on the outside. Conflict begins inside. And the resolution to the conflict is also on the inside.
La paz la tenemos entre nosotros, tiene que reflejarse desde nosotros. Y nosotros podemos detener la guerra. Sobre el programa de educación sobre la paz, que es maravilloso lo que ha pasado en mi vida, porque me ha ayudado en tantas cosas y en tanto de superar nuestros conflictos, nuestras caídas y siempre levantarse.
La calma, la tranquilidad, la paz viene de adentro, y si tú tienes un conflicto dentro de ti, eso es lo que va a generar en el mundo, eso es tu accionar.
Yo pienso que el programa de Educación para la Paz es importante para este ámbito educativo, porque necesitábamos una herramienta, estábamos como un poco en el aire, mirando de pronto qué se podía decir, qué no se podía hacer, porque recordemos que nuestro país Colombia ha venido en un proceso de guerra de muchos años, y la única manera definitivamente de encontrar la paz con los demás es a través de la paz interior. Entonces digamos que aquí está casando completamente con el momento histórico que estamos viviendo en nuestro país.
Yo sufro de una enfermedad llamada hidronefrosis crónica, y cuando llegué aquí no tenía la paz suficiente en mi ser para afrontar las situaciones que venían atrás de la enfermedad. A través de todo eso, la señora Silvia me presentó el programa para la paz. Cuando comencé el programa, yo decía que mi salud no era la adecuada para llevar este tipo de vida que yo estaba llevando. Y bueno, básicamente perdí mucho la paciencia en esos momentos, y a través del programa de Educación para la Paz me ayudó a conllevar o llevar eso, a tolerar esas cosas que me estaban pasando. Me dejó notar y me dejó ver que si yo afronto esta situación con paz, tranquilidad y paz interior sobre todo, que me iban a dejar avanzar con mi enfermedad.
Los retos a los que se enfrentan los jóvenes, pienso yo que más que todo el primer reto que ellos tienen que vencer es a nivel emocional, porque los jóvenes, por ejemplo, de este medio, ellos vienen de familias disfuncionales.
Where is peace? This is the pivotal question.
Está impactando de manera positiva no solamente a los estudiantes, sino que también las escuelas de familia, escuelas de padres se han alimentado también con estas enseñanzas que vienen precisamente en todo este material importantísimo, permitiéndonos no solamente darles herramientas a los papás para que fuera de la institución, en sus hogares, en las familias específicamente, puedan conversar sobre estos temas y sobre esa búsqueda de la paz interior, que es lo que finalmente se quiere para poder tener una paz a nivel de comunidad.
Yo era una persona que yo me deseaba la muerte, yo me quería matar. Y era una persona que con mis hijos, o sea, gritando, a toda hora, eran las 6 de la mañana cuando iban para el colegio, yo los estaba gritando. Y entonces yo me decía, pero tú sí gritas, y yo decía, sí, sí grito, o sea, que yo no tenía paz. Y no tenía más bien ni conocimiento de paz. Y como dicen, uno tiene que ganarse el respeto, no exigirlo. El respeto se gana, no se exige. Entonces, como yo pretendía que mis hijos me respetaran y no alzaran la voz, y yo se lo faltaba a ellos. Entonces, gracias a aprender la voz, repito, que el respeto se gana, y que la paz está dentro.
Muchas veces por circunstancias de la vida nos vamos llenando de resentimientos, de odios, de envidias, y eso es lo que aflora en nosotros. Pero muy en el interior de nuestro corazón está el perdón, el amor, la cordialidad, y no nos detenemos de pronto un momento a analizar qué está pasando en mi vida y descubrir ese gran tesoro que hay en mi corazón.
Lo único que sí, ¿para qué le voy a decir con sinceridad? Yo le agradezco mucho toda la invitación y todo, porque eso me ha ayudado bastante. No le voy a decir que no.
Le mando muchas gracias a Prem porque él me ayudó mucho en esta causa que tengo actualmente.
El programa Educación para la Paz me ha enseñado de que yo la paz no la veo en los demás, sino que la tengo que encontrar en mí misma, y me ha parecido muy chévere el programa.
Recomendaría el programa de Educación para la Paz a ojos cerrados, para cualquier ámbito, porque todas las comunidades tienen que vivir en paz.
Yo quiero compartir con todos los docentes de Colombia y del mundo entero que traten de ver los talleres de Prem Rawat, lo disfruten y aprendan. Imagínate si nosotros lográramos en todo momento de nuestra vida dar lo bueno, o sea, sería fantástico, sería un mundo diferente, sería fabuloso.
Gracias a la Fundación Prem Rawat, ha sido una ayuda maravillosa para nuestro departamento, para nuestra vida como profesionales. Hemos visto cómo se han transformado las instituciones educativas y cómo la filosofía de que la paz está en ti y no en el otro está haciendo huella en el Departamento del Atlántico, y seguramente vamos a hacer de nuestras instituciones instituciones de paz, de una paz real, una paz vivencial, una paz duradera.
Senators, secretaries of education, professors, educators, students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome viewers today from Mexico, Peru, Colombia, and Uruguay. I have been looking forward to this broadcast since a few weeks ago. I was told that this may be happening, and I was asked if I want to do this. So I was very enthusiastic, and I wanted to do this to reach out to you, especially those people who have been following up with the Peace Education program. So the question comes, what is peace education? And as you all know, it's a very simple program. And in many ways than one, it is like holding a mirror up to a person, saying to that person, now you can see you. The whole world inspires us to look out, to look at them, look at the cars, look at the fashion, look at the governments, look at everything else. But there is very little in this world, very, very little, that inspires us to look at ourselves. Long time ago, when Socrates said, "Know thyself," that was a remarkable statement made so long ago. Surely there was no value to it then. I mean, then people didn't have satellites, and there were no phones, and there weren't the problems of the world that exist today. I mean, credit cards did not exist then. All this communication, that didn't exist then. iPhones weren't there then. Computers weren't there then. So certainly, what could be so problematic? But you see, people have always faced problems. And in that day and age, what Socrates is saying is know yourself. For what? For the solutions to your problems. What are the problems? Not any different than the problems we have today. Maybe the devices that give us problems have changed, but the problems themselves have not changed. This perhaps, on the face of it, looks like or sounds like it's too simplistic, but it's not. This is what happens time and time again. That the society thinks it has changed, but the problems that the society faces are the same. So, what are the solutions then? The solutions lie in your strength. Solutions lie with you. And that fundamentally is what Peace Education Program is. To cause you to look at you. Now, I know a lot of people assume that when they look at themselves, what they will see is their weakness. They assume that what they will see is the bad in them. But it is very surprising that when we see ourselves truly, we see our strength. We see our beauty. We see our light. We see our understanding. We see our joy. We see our courage. And courage is what it takes to go forward in this world. Courage is what it takes to go within us. The challenges that we face are challenges because we don't know what we have available to us. We have some incredible stuff available to us. We are not that sheep like in that story of the lion and the lamb. We are something else. We are more. We are greater than the sum of all these problems that we see. The world forces us to measure ourselves against others. We don't have to measure against others. We only have to look at ourselves and see what we already have been given. So, not what we don't have, but what we do have. And that is what Peace Education Program is all about. Once anybody starts to see what they have, there are so many people that look at themselves and they don't look at what they have, they look at themselves as what they don't have. They look for approval from their friends. This is what all social media thing is about. People are wanting to have approval. And where is that approval? Somewhere. They think that without that approval, they are nothing. That when their friends tell them they are somebody, then they are somebody. This is not true. The responsibility of your life lies with you, not with your friends. The responsibility of happiness lies with you. The formula of what is success lies with you, not somebody else. And until you understand that, you will look towards other people for what you don't need from them, but you already have within, inside of you. So many of the problems in this world, we don't listen. We don't listen. And how is it? Parents don't listen to their children. Children don't listen to their parents. A lot of times, teachers don't listen to their students, and students don't listen to their teachers. A lot of times, the governments don't listen to people, and people don't listen to the government. You look at everywhere, this is a listening problem. We are dramatically facing deafness because we have the ability to listen. If we can listen, we can change. We can change our world. If we can understand our strength, we can change our world. Do we want to change our world? And this is what's important. Which world am I talking about? When I say our world, which world am I talking about? The world out there or the world in here? We need to first change this world. This world, when it changes, then that world will change. Everybody focuses on that world, the world outside, but nobody focuses on the world inside. It is the world inside that needs to be changed. That the biggest change that needs to happen is it needs to be discovered. It needs to be seen. It needs to be accepted. That's the change of the inner world. We want to change the outer world. Outer world has big problems. There is greed. There is unrest. We can see the unharmony between people. This pandemic has brought the best of us out, and it has brought the worst of us out. Both at the same time. Where people really helped each other and where people really hurt each other. The best and the worst have come out. But what about this world? What's in this world? In this world, there is kindness. In this world, there is gentleness. In this world, there is true love. And whatever happens on the outside world is only a reflection. It's only a reflection of what's happening in this world. Your shadow will be like you. Your shadow will be like you. If you are thin, it'll be thin. If you are fat, it'll be fat. If you're short, it'll be short. If you're long, it'll be long. The sun doesn't create you, but the sun allows the shadow to be. And the shadow will be what you are. Your reflection will be of what you are. Not ideas, not theories, not giant belief system, but reality. This is so much of why I was so excited to do this, because it was the education system. What is education system? This is where the teachers forge and take what could have been just beliefs and ideas and forge them into realities for the students. They allow then the students to formulate their own world. A world that they want. This is really preparing the soil. All the teachers, and I hope you don't take it the wrong way, but you are farmers. You prepare the field, and the students will then throw the seeds in. Those seeds will grow, and one day they will be a beautiful crop. You have such magnificent responsibilities. I know that sometimes it can be frustrating, but it's not about just you. It's about what you do. Finding peace and making peace important for yourself will then also make peace important for your students. Give them the courage to stand up to all the craziness of this world. They need courage. They need courage to make the right decisions in their lives. They need the courage to steer in the proper directions in their lives. For a young mind to be faced with challenges, which maybe is to say no to the drugs, to stay clear of those drugs, to say no to violence, to say no to bullying. All this stuff takes a tremendous amount of courage. And that courage is inside each one of those young minds. It needs to be shaped. It needs to be brought forth. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be nurtured so that the good is nurtured in all of these students. And what a bright future that can be for all of us. This is how I see it. How can Peace Education Program help with all this? Again, when people see who they are, when people understand who they are, they get courage. This is what's magnificent about knowing yourself. Courage comes automatically. You understand you are not alone. You understand that you don't have to look at your obstacles, that you have solutions in you. You don't just have to look at your problems, but you can see in you your solutions simply by looking at yourself, knowing yourself. And this is so wonderful. It's so beautiful. Because let me just finish up with by telling you that little story about the lion and the lamb. Because that story illustrates so well our misconceptions about who we possibly are. There was a farmer, and every day he used to take his sheep, and he used to take the sheep grazing. One day as he was coming back from the jungle, he saw a little lion cub, almost half dead, just sleeping on the side of the road. He felt sorry for the little lion cub. He picked it up, and he brought him back. He nurtured him, and then he didn't know what to do with him, so he put him with his sheep. The lion got stronger and stronger, and every day the lion would go out with the sheep grazing, and he would come back with the sheep, and he just hung out with the sheep all day long, all night long. One day, a big lion, a big, powerful, strong lion, came out of the jungle, roared, and he came to where all the sheep were. And when the sheep saw the lion, they all scattered. They were afraid. Some hid in the barn, some hid under the hay, some hid by the trees. Wherever they could hide, they all hid. The little lion cub also hid himself in the trunk of a tree. When the big lion came, he saw all the little sheep hiding. And he saw the little lion, and he was very confused. So he went up to the lion and said, "Why are you hiding?" And the little lion said, "Oh, Mr. Lion, please, 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 I'm just a poor little lamb. Don't eat me, please, please, have mercy on me." The lion said, "You're not a lamb. Whatever you say, Mr. Lion, whatever you say, but please don't eat me, have mercy." And the big lion says, "You know, you're really confused about who you are. Come, let me show you." He took him to the edge of the pond and he said, "Now look at your reflection." And when the lion saw his reflection, he realized, he said, "I'm not like those sheep. I'm like you." And the big lion said, "That's exactly right. Roar with me. This is who you are. Whatever our circumstances, we think we are something else. And we are not that weakness. We have courage in us. We have understanding in us. We have these beautiful, powerful assets that belong to us. But they get lost in how the world portrays us. No, the world says, "Oh, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this." And pretty soon we start to think, "My God, I must be really weak." This is not about weakness. This is about strength. And that's what the Peace Education Program is. I hope you have enjoyed the Peace Education Program and that you continue to discover all your strengths in you beyond the Peace Education Program. Because again, Peace Education Program is just a start. The more and more you discover, the more powerful you realize you are. So some of you have sent in a few questions, and I would like to take this time to answer some of these questions. How can I face discrimination and bullying at work? This is a very good question. So, I will talk about this in a very simple way. One, and if we all did this, this would be wonderful. One, don't offend anyone. Don't offend anyone. Two, don't be offended. If somebody offends you, don't be offended. So one, don't offend anyone. And if somebody offends you, don't be offended. Let it go. Let it go. How? Imagine washing a dirty piece of cloth in a stream that is flowing. And you rub soap on that piece of cloth. And you wash and wash, rub and rub. And then you take that piece of cloth and you put it in that water. And you let the water take away that dirt. And it's gone. And the cloth is clean. Just like that. When things happen, you don't have to get involved. There's no necessity. These are the decisions that you need to make every day. Sometimes 10 times a day, sometimes 20 times a day. To wash that cloth in that river, in that stream, requires courage, requires strength. It is the weakness that causes you to react to that situation. And then, if you do get offended, so first, don't offend, and don't be offended. But if you do get offended, whatever you do, don't take revenge. This requires courage, requires clarity, requires strength. And it requires you practice. You need to practice. Whatever it is that you practice the most, you will become good at it. It's like that story where one time this little child came to the chief and said, "Chief, I have a question. Why is it that some people are good sometimes and the same people who are good sometimes are bad the other times?" And chief said, "Because there are two wolves fighting. There's a good wolf and there's a bad wolf. When the bad wolf wins, we become bad. When the good wolf wins, we become good." The kid thought about this. Then he said, "Chief, ultimately, which wolf wins?" The chief said, "The one you feed the most." When we practice something, that is feeding. So when we practice bad things, we feed the bad wolf. When we practice good things, we feed the good wolf. What we practice the most, we become good at it. So we need to practice. We need to remember with the courage, with clarity, because not to take revenge, to let go of something, requires courage. Another question, in these times of climate, health, political and economic change, how can we prevent being overcome by anxiety, fear, sadness, and remain in harmony and peace? The more you know yourself, the more courage you have, the more clarity you have, this will be the result of it. It doesn't matter what happens outside. Calamities have happened before. This is not the first time. We just don't realize that bad things have happened on this earth, but human beings had the strength to go forward. There was the Spanish flu. It was called the Spanish flu. It was very similar to this, but we recovered. We can recover. As human beings, we can make mistakes, and we also have the power to correct our mistakes, if we so choose, if we decide to do that. But we have to choose. We have to collectively choose to do this. There's a lot of people who say, "Oh, that will never happen." Well, there's also those people who say, "Yes, it can happen." Who's right? Those who look at this world and the possibility of these changes as a weakness of human beings? Or those people who see it as the strength of the human beings? Because, a lot of people ask me the questions. Why are things so bad? Why are human beings so bad? And I have to remind them, no, there's a lot that is good. There's a few bad people, but there is a lot of good people on the face of this earth. They don't get talked about. Those ones who are not so good, they get talked about. But who are good, they don't get talked about. But there is a lot of good in this world. It needs to be nurtured, it needs to be brought forward, so that we all can enjoy the strength of that. What is another question? What is your recommendation for us, the youth, to be resilient and apply all that we have learned in the peace education program? My first thing is, don't ever stop learning. Continue to learn. This is not just about the school time, but learn. Learn about yourself. Learn about all that is around you and what is in you. You will find that this is an infinite world of infinite discovery. more you discover, more you enjoy, more beautiful you find it. So, your interest, your thirst to continue learning, growing with the Peace Education Program. What are the challenges for the Peace Education Program after the pandemic? Well, people enjoy this program. People were enjoying this program before. People have enjoyed this program during the pandemic, and I'm sure people will continue to enjoy it also after the pandemic. So also, what has been the most valuable thing for you since you started this journey of bringing the message of peace to the world? For me, again, I need to always be in touch with myself, because there is a peace that is in my heart. Without that peace, it is impossible to talk about peace. Without that joy, it is impossible to talk about the joy. But when you can feel, because this is about knowing who you are. You change every day, but there is something in you that doesn't change every day. You can be in touch with what changes very easily, but you also have to be in touch with that does not change. You will evolve, but there is one thing in you that is already very evolved. That is who you are. We need light in our life. Light does not create things. Light merely shows what is already there. The obstacles, why are they so painful to us? They are painful to us because we stumble on them. We get hurt by them because we do not see them. When there is light, we can see them, and then they are very easy to avoid. We can do that simply. This is the understanding of that self. This is that process. This is what light does for us. It shows us where those obstacles are so we can circumnavigate them. It is as simple as that. Sometimes we don't realize it. Sometimes when we are in our problems, something bad happens to us, something weird happens to us, something we don't like, we see problems. But we also have to see our strength. Going forward, this is what it has to be all about. Another question. If one of the keys to having fulfilled life is to live in peace, love, hope, self-awareness, why do we have difficulty understanding this? Who or what has us living in fear, worry, anxiety, and living in a lie? This is a very good question. Because without, your eyes can see everything else. But if you want to see your eyes, you need a mirror. Peace Education Program becomes a mirror. And when we don't know, this is what you have to realize. One of the biggest part of being lost is this. You don't know you're lost. This is how it begins. You don't know you're lost. At some point in time, you got lost and you didn't know it. And you kept going. Now you're more lost and 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 more lost. That's losing that focus, losing that perspective in your life. That's what it is all about. We lose our sense of balance. We just take on the world like, okay, this is what I want. As soon as you say to yourself, I want to be like that person, it's over. It is truly over. No. You are you. And you can do more than that person. That person, they did what they did, but you can do more than that. This is what happens. In sports, if somebody breaks a record today, somebody will break a record tomorrow and break his record tomorrow. Then somebody will break his record day after that. Because it isn't like copying, I want to be like that person. No, you want to be more than that. Having this inspiration, not looking at people and saying, that's my benchmark, that's what I want to be, this is what it has to be, that is what it has to be. But greater and greater. Because there's a saying, and it goes, you don't have to have wings to fly. All you need to do is cut the ropes that tie you down. Cut the ropes that tie you down, and you will naturally fly. That's what a human being is. There are things, these are ideas, so much noise that gets put in us. Noise and noise and noise and noise and noise. It gets so noisy. We live in information age, but we actually are living in disinformation age. There is so much disinformation out there, and people are listening to it. This is noise. It's just noise. And it disorients us from what is our proper course. It takes us away from what is our proper course. So it's very, very important not to be living in fear, not to be living in worry, not to be living in anxiety, and not to be living a lie. To live the truth that you are. You exist. You were born. One day you were born, and one day you have to go. This is what the time between those 2 points is what defines you. Do you have to go one day? Everybody has to go one day. Was everybody born one day? Yes. One day you were born, one day you have to go. Those two things are not what defines you. What defines you is what you do between those two things. What you learn, what you achieve, what you understand for yourself. That's what defines you. So I would like to say thank you very much to all of you for giving me this opportunity to present this to you. And I wish you be safe, and be happy, and be healthy. So thank you very much.